I never thought I'd find myself in this position, calling off my engagement to the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. My name is Ethan, and at 45, I've experienced my fair share of love and loss. My late husband, Alex, and I had 2 amazing children together, Olivia, now 23, and Noah, 18. Alex was the love of my life, but he was taken from us far too soon when a drunk driver struck him on his way home from work. It was a devastating blow to our family, and I promised myself I wouldn't even consider dating again for at least a few years, for the sake of my kids. 3 years after Alex's passing, I met Sophie. We took things slow, and I didn't introduce her to my kids until we'd been together for a year. Sophie and my children always had a good relationship. They were friendly and welcoming, even if they weren't particularly close. Sophie never tried to replace Alex, respecting the boundaries my kids had set. In the beginning, Sophie struggled with some insecurities about my being a widower. She'd often ask if I'd still be with Alex if he were alive. I tried to reassure her that she was the one I was with now and that dwelling on hypotheticals wasn't healthy for our relationship. Eventually, her comments subsided, and I thought we'd moved past it. Fast forward to the present day, with Sophie and I engaged and my parents hosting a dinner to celebrate. My mom, dad, Alex's sister and her husband, Olivia, Noah, Sophie, and I were all gathered together. The dinner was going well, with everyone making small talk and discussing wedding plans. Then, my mom made an innocent comment about how happy she was that I'd found the same spark with Sophie that I'd had with Alex. Sophie laughed and said, "I'm happy he passed away, otherwise I would have never gotten Ethan to myself." The room fell silent, and the tension was palpable. My kids looked disgusted, and Olivia got up and walked out to the car. Noah stayed a bit longer, seemingly waiting for me to say something, but I was frozen in shock. Sophie tried to play it off as a joke, but the damage was done. We said our goodbyes and left shortly after. It's been 3 days, and Olivia hasn't spoken to me or Sophie since. I finally decided to ask Noah for advice. He told me, "I'm an adult, and I don't care who you marry, but I don't want a woman who speaks like that about our dad around Olivia." His words stuck with me, and now I'm seriously considering calling off the engagement. I'm worried that if I let this slide, it will only be the beginning of more hurtful comments, and it will drive a wedge between me and my children. I need to do right by them, but I'm at a loss for what to do next. After much deliberation, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my kids. I called Olivia and Noah into the living room and told them point-blank that I didn't think the wedding was happening anymore. I apologized for not speaking up sooner and for allowing tension to build in our home. I looked Olivia in the eye and told her I understood why she hadn't spoken to me and that I was sorry for making her think I was okay with what Sophie had said. Olivia opened up, telling me that she'd felt disgusted by Sophie's comment and even more so by my lack of response. She then revealed that over the past 2 years, she'd felt like Sophie had been gradually trying to push her and Noah away from me. When Noah had mentioned wanting to move out for college, Sophie had apparently been the one to encourage him the most, even though I'd made it clear he was welcome to stay at home. Noah confirmed that while he hadn't felt pushed out initially, Sophie had been persistent about him moving out once he'd expressed interest. Olivia added that Sophie kept encouraging her to go to an out-of-state college, despite knowing that Olivia wanted to attend the same local college as Noah. I was stunned. I apologized again for not noticing sooner and for making them feel like they had to walk on eggshells in their own home. I assured them that they were my top priority, not Sophie or anyone else. We hugged, and I promised to always be there for them, no matter how old they were. The conversation lasted about 2 hours, and emotions ran high, but in the end, I knew what I had to do. Sophie and I were done. I made sure my kids knew that none of this was their fault and that Sophie was the adult who had made the hurtful comment. The next day, with Olivia staying at Noah's place, I prepared to confront Sophie. I called my mother first, asking why she'd thought it was okay to bring up Alex at the dinner. She apologized profusely, believing the whole situation had stemmed from her comment. I assured her that she wasn't to blame and that her comment had been a compliment to Sophie. When Sophie woke up, I waited a bit before sitting her down for a serious talk. I had my phone recording in my back pocket, just in case. I unloaded everything on her, the hurtful comment, the lack of apology, and how it had affected my kids and me. I told her I expected her to apologize to my parents, Alex's family, and most importantly, my children. Sophie remained stoic, only asking if things would return to normal if she apologized. I told her no, and that the dinner comment wasn't the only issue. I confronted her about pressuring Noah to move out and trying to do the same with Olivia. I did my best to leave my kids out of it, but I made it clear that their descriptions of her treatment towards them were the main reason I no longer saw a future with her. As I told her we were over, Sophie began to panic. She cried, promising to apologize and make things right with my kids. I stood my ground, telling her that while I would appreciate an apology, it wouldn't change my decision. I loved her, but I refused to risk my children being hurt again. Frustrated, I asked her why she had tried to push my kids out of their own home. Her response shocked me to the core. "Well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life," she said. Seeing red, I told her to get out. I made it clear that my kids were welcome wherever they pleased, especially in the house that I owned and paid for. After some back and forth, Sophie packed a few bags and left to stay with a friend. I emailed myself a copy of the recorded conversation, just in case. The talk had only lasted about 25 minutes, much shorter than the one I'd had with my kids. I texted Olivia and Noah, letting them know that Sophie was gone for good and that they could come home whenever they wanted. I also told Noah he was more than welcome to move back in if he desired. In the aftermath of my confrontation with Sophie, I found myself grappling with a mix of emotions. Despite everything she had done, a part of me still loved her deeply. I knew those feelings wouldn't disappear overnight, but I also recognized that my priority had to be my family, the ones who needed me the most. I called my parents and Alex's family to apologize for the entire situation. They were understanding and supportive, reassuring me that I had made the right decision for myself and my children. My mother, bless her heart, still felt guilty about her comment at the dinner, but I reassured her once again that none of this was her fault. Olivia returned home from Noah's place that afternoon, and we spent some quality time together, talking and bonding over our shared experiences. It was a small step towards healing, but an important one nonetheless. I made a promise to both of my children that I would always put them first, no matter what. Over the next few days, Sophie kept blowing up my phone, pleading for us to work things out. I stood firm in my decision, but I allowed her to come by the house to collect the rest of her belongings. It was a tense and emotional encounter, but I knew it was necessary for both of us to move forward. As I watched Sophie leave for the last time, I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. I mourned for the future I had envisioned with her, but I also felt a sense of relief knowing that I had protected my children from further hurt. I knew that I had a long road ahead of me, but I was ready to face it head-on. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my relationship with Olivia and Noah. We spent more time together as a family, sharing meals, watching movies, and just talking about our lives. Noah decided to move back home for a while, and I couldn't have been happier to have both of my children under the same roof again. I also took some time for myself, reflecting on the lessons I had learned from this experience. I realized that I had been so caught up in the idea of finding love again that I had ignored the red flags in my relationship with Sophie. I vowed to be more cautious in the future and to always prioritize my children's well-being above all else. As time passed, the pain of the breakup began to fade, and I found myself feeling more at peace. I knew that I had made the right decision for my family, and I was grateful for the support of my loved ones throughout the entire ordeal. Looking back, I realized that this experience, as challenging as it was, had brought me closer to my children and had taught me valuable lessons about love, family, and the importance of standing up for what's right. I emerged from it a stronger, wiser person, ready to face whatever challenges life had in store for me next. And so, with a newfound sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for the love and support of my family, I looked to the future with hope and optimism, knowing that no matter what happened, we would face it together. What do you think about this story of mine? Please give me your comments below in the comments section. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel to follow the next stories. Thank you.